everyone. This is Dee from CatalystEnergies. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is your daily catalyst for January 15th, 2020. And it feels like we may have been in a wormhole that we just popped out of and feeling a little unsteady on our feet right now. It's been a weird couple of days. And honestly, it feels like it's been a really strange week. But in particular, the last 2 days have felt absolutely bizarre. I feel like this is almost like a Saturn and Pluto conjunction hangover in this weird refractory period that we are now recovering from this conjunction. So it's kind of been a little bit difficult to get going back on the dailies in the astrology because it's just been wow. I think it's just been quite an experience. I think the conjunction has affected everybody, and some people it's been incredibly disruptive. Some people it's probably been wonderful in terms of the change. Some people the change has been internal. Either way, it's all been happening, and we are now in a position where we have to start moving forward from this event. So I actually have been putting together videos for each of the 12 signs that involve a little bit of astrology and a intuitive reading as a post Saturn and Pluto conjunction report, just to give some insight and some potential guidance for how to move forward from this energy, because I think it is really intense and there was such a buildup. And if something crazy didn't happen to you on that day, it may have felt kind of meh, but after that, I feel as if it became way more real in our bodies somehow. Either we were feeling incredibly emotional and frustrated. I know for me, like I tried to do content for 2 days in a row and everything just kept falling apart and I kept resisting it. So we're going to be moving forward here, but I would encourage you to check out those videos for any of the signs that you identify with to get some sense of how to move beyond this conjunction and what it means for you and your sign. But for now, we're talking about the 15th of January. And actually, as I'm making this particular video, it is the 14th, the evening of, on the west coast of the US. And we still have our moon in Virgo, and she's been drawing us inward to really analyze and be very meticulous about how we feel, what we're driven to instinctually, like what our desires are, what are our emotional needs, what's going on in our subconscious. So here's our moon in Virgo here. And what she's doing now is trining all of this Capricorn energy. Right now, in fact, Pluto, Saturn, and then the sun, and then she'll come around and trine Mercury tomorrow morning, right before she goes void of course, meaning she's not making any aspects again until she moves into Libra tomorrow. But I think that this is a really nice balance. You know, this has been very disruptive, and it's been not only Saturn and Pluto, but Mercury lining up with these two first, then the conjunction, and then the sun lining up with each of them. It's just like, you know, on one side we're getting the messages from Mercury and then the conjunction, and then the other side is all this illumination and all of this fire energy and like activating it. And it's just felt like a lot. And so the moon has been in Virgo, and we've been very detail oriented and making sure everything emotionally is where it's supposed to be, and really analyzing it, not just taking our emotions at face value, but really putting them through the system and trying to eventually get to a point of understanding. But right now, just analyzing them. And I think now, as the evening has come around, or just later in the day in general, today, the 14th, the moon trining all of this energy is really allowing us to feel some sort of foundation with it, and to take that information and feed it into our analytical system that we already have going. And I think that it will help us feel a lot more comfortable with the changes that have transpired. It's massive transformation. Even if it seemed like meh, it's something that's been happening and will continue to be, it is going to continue to unfold. And so this moon in Virgo right now really supporting us in this analysis and the analysis itself really supporting our maybe acceptance of this shift that's been happening in Capricorn. So as we move on to the 15th, then we're gonna see that the moon, so that was the 14th right now, and there we go. I want to make sure that, yes, there we go, everything is where it needs to be. Clear all drawings. All right, so this is the 15th, and this is what the report's going to be on today. So our moon has moved into Libra at this point. This is for 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And after she makes her trine to Mercury over here in Capricorn, in the last couple degrees of Capricorn, she goes void off course and doesn't make it only for like a couple of hours, and then she moves into Libra. And the moon in Libra is, we emotionally feel the need for everybody, including ourselves, to be happy, to be fair and balanced, to be aesthetically pleasing. The archetype of Libra is the scales being balanced. So it's implicit that there is polarity when you're talking about Libra, some material polarity or energetic polarity, whatever it is. There needs to be two sides of something because it's implying that there is a need for balance. That's what Libra is all about. And so moon in Libra is really, you know, showing us where we are emotionally and feeling wise, wanting balance, wanting fairness, wanting justice, wanting things to be aesthetically balanced, that look symmetrical. And it's really all in the mind. So it's the way we conceptualize things as being fair and balanced. And just because something looks a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that it is that way. But emotionally, it's been really trying. And so we're looking for this balance in some area of our life. Now, one of the first challenges is then going to be in opposition to Chiron and Aries, which is the complete opposite of understanding that other people exist, which is what Libra is all about, the understanding that other exists, and then we need to balance with other in order to have peace. Aries doesn't even acknowledge that anybody else exists. Aries is all about Aries all the time, and that is our survival mechanism, of course. And so Chiron, the wounded healer, our original wound, the shame, you know, from which we need to heal from in Aries is, you know, our inner child having a tantrum and crying out and wanting attention, in direct opposition to this moon that's just like, I just want everybody to be happy. And it's very placating. It's very enabling. And when in an opposition to Aries like this, I mean, Libra and Aries are naturally opposed to each other. But this is about a wound with Chiron. And we can act irrationally when we are wounded. It doesn't necessarily, you know, we don't necessarily act in accordance to how other people feel or things being fair and balanced when we are in fact wounded and continue to act from that wound. That is definitely some sort of trauma thing going on. And so our first challenge with a moon in Libra, wanting everything fair and balanced, is we have to deal with ourselves and our inner child. And so we're going to feel that tension right away because we're going to want the balance and we're going to want things to feel balanced to make everybody happy. But it's the first point of opposition is going to be that wounded inner child. It's like, no, pay attention to me. And so our challenge is to find the fulcrum, to find the balancing point, so we're not pulled off of our center by either one of these energies. As the moon moves on, she's going to quincunx Venus, who is now in Pisces, and also Uranus, that is now direct in Taurus. And so an inconjunct or a quincunx is an opportunity for adjustment. You know, Venus in Pisces wants to dissolve everything back into source. It's very creative and really is going after actual harmony, spiritual harmony, spiritually based relationships, spiritually based businesses, spiritually based projects. Like, the things that make us feel good are our connection to spirit and where creativity comes from, that ocean of ideas and creative inspirations. You know, Venus wants to bask in that. And it's very sweet and it's very loving and it's very spiritual, compassionate love, and it wants to bring it into real form. Now, there are no boundaries with Pisces, right? That is the nature of the ocean. It is just the ocean. It is boundaryless. You can see where there will be a lack of connection or an inconjunct here with Libra, because as I said, Libra, it's implicit that Libra, in Libra, that there's polarity, that there are two sides that need to be balanced. And Venus is like, there are no sides. We are all one. And isn't it beautiful? And that's really nice, but it doesn't go well with a moon that wants to actually work towards balancing something, acknowledging that somebody else actually exists in real life. And we can believe and we can work towards this harmony, this spiritual dissolution, back to source, and that's where true harmony lies. But that's not gonna necessarily line up with our internal desire and our drive emotionally, intuitively, to make sure things are balanced out. You can't do that in Pisces. So you can see where these things don't line up. And then also Taurus, again, there's no conception that there is an opposing force with Taurus. Taurus is just the soil. It's just the medium from which everything comes from. It is the earth. It is the physical body. It is the material realm in and of itself. And Uranus is, the quick change, the great awakener, the collective third eye, the higher octave of Mercury. It's cosmic consciousness. And you can again see that Uranus is making quick change, lightning bolt change, especially going direct now. And that also has no care for the fact that other people exist. I mean, Uranus is about the collective, but not about the individuals in the collective. It's just about the collective. And it's just about the lightning bolt of awakening, regardless of if it's fair and balanced from a earthly perspective. So you can also see where this inconjunct happens between our desire and our emotional drive to make sure everything is fair and balanced, whereas Uranus just is like, nope, we're making this change and it's happening quick because you need to wake up, and it has to do with what is in physical reality. Now, what's interesting here is that Venus in Pisces and Uranus in Taurus are making also a sextile, a 60-degree angle. So this is a harmonious angle that requires some sort of attention or activation, but is in fact balance and is potential for something to be created in some ways. And Venus in Pisces, like I said, softens the edges. It encourages us to dissolve back into oneness when it comes to very physical things like our relationships and our love and our money, and the things that feel good, like our clothing and our possessions and our style. That's definitely a very Venus thing. And Venus rules Taurus, which Uranus is right now. And so in some ways she's really helping us kind of melt into this change and to see the ways that this change from Uranus actually allows for us to have that experience of being unified, and the spiritual connection that we get. Venus in Pisces is definitely about spiritual relationships, spiritual love, kind of this melting thing that I keep envisioning. And she's really helping us to kind of dissolve into and melt into and be inspired by the change from Uranus, as opposed to maybe resisting it because it's been so disruptive and kind of jarring at times, because it's change in very physical reality. But that's where Venus is the happiest. She is the physical manifestation of the divine feminine, and in such a beautiful, watery, inspirational, spiritual sign of Pisces. I think that we have a real opportunity here to align with this and see how it could bring about harmony and that connection to spirit in our lives, instead of resisting that change. The moon is then going to square the nodes, which is interesting because in Capricorn, it kind of makes more sense because Capricorn is very much, you know, ambitious. It's the boss, my way or the highway type of energy. At all costs, we're going to reach the bottom line. And of course, so if you're trying to make sure that everybody's happy and everything feels like it's balanced and fair, then that's not going to, you can see the square, the tension with Capricorn. That's just like, I don't care how anybody feels. We're getting this done, right? But then with Cancer, at first it seems like that they would connect with each other because Cancer is also about nurturing and taking care of people, but it's sometimes holding space for people, which is what Cancer is all about, is not necessarily pleasing to other people and doesn't necessarily take into account the aesthetic balance of fair and just. Sometimes holding space for people is uncomfortable because you are giving them the containment in order to be truly vulnerable. And sometimes not everybody's okay with that. And sometimes that makes other people really uncomfortable. And so a moon in Libra that wants to make sure everybody's comfortable and everything is balanced definitely could square off with this collective drive towards holding space for each other and for ourselves to be truly in our emotional power. There's no real emotional power with Libra. You are admitting, and it is a representation that something other than you exists, and that there is a need to have a relationship with that that's balanced. But it's more about in the mind, and this is less about that and more about where do we feel emotionally secure, where do we feel, you know, where are our roots, and where do we feel the most comfortable to be ourselves. And sometimes that's going to, you know, that may not really help with making things look balanced or aesthetically pleasing. It can be a messy process and uncomfortable for other people, but it's really where the real work is right now for us collectively. So ultimately, I think checking in on Venus and Pisces and Uranus here in Taurus is really going to be where we can get a lot of inspiration and feeling empowered today. The moon in Libra is definitely pulling us towards wanting this balance and make sure everybody is happy and that we feel like things are balanced and fair. But remember, it's a transient transit. The moon is going to move into a new sign, into Scorpio, in just a matter of days, and it's going to be a totally different it's going to be a totally different experience in the way that we are feeling. So we definitely want things, and in some ways it's kind of a relief to have a moon in Libra, because we just kind of like relax a little bit and we're just like, oh, I just want everything to be okay. And it's not that it isn't, but there is other work happening right now that is way more beneficial and to us in the long run, as opposed to just right now making sure things are balanced. So tapping into Venus and Pisces, Uranus and Taurus, and make sure to check out the videos for the post-Saturn Pluto conjunction reports that I'm going to be posting here in the next day or so. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for subscribing if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing if you have felt inspired to do so by watching this video. If you'd like to reach out for me or book a reading, all the information is in the description box below. And you can reach me on my Facebook page. I do a lot of daily updates there, and that's where you can book my services. So thank you for being here. Thank yourself for being here or seeking any kind of guidance or educating yourself at all on how to be a better version of yourself. And so I will see you all on the next video. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.